Hello everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, wherever you are. My name is Moji Taiwo, your host of the Immigrant Experience Show, coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm also the author of I Give Because I'm Blessed Because I Give, a chronicle of an immigrant's journey. But most recently, I just published book number 1 of my children's book series. It's called Grandma and Her Munchkin, an Everyday Adventure. There are 5 books in the series, but this is book number 1. So, we are very happy to have a special guest with us today. And I say he is a very special guest because he is so dear to my heart. But before I introduce him, I would like to acknowledge our sponsors, our gold sponsor. We have Agape and Akin Online Business Coaching. We have Elite Wellness Spa and Hammam, Calgary Equity Security for all your alarm systems and security services. And of course, we have Niue Academy School of Cosmetology and Massage. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, a little bit about our special guest today. Although I say all my guests are special guests, but this one is especially special.
Okay.
We have with us today Dr. Emeka Nzekwu, who was born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, to a Nigerian parent and raised within the Nigerian community with rooted Nigerian values of service and cultures. Dr. Nzekwu's parents, the late Dr. Ben Nzekwu and Mrs. Victoria Hope Nzekwu of blessed memories, were selfless community leaders and servants. Emeka, with your permission, I would like to dedicate this episode to your parents because they are very, very dear to me.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Emeka, who is also an engineer, graduated in 2015 from the University of Alberta Faculty of Medicine and Dentistry, followed with a postgraduate training in diagnostic radiology from Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia. As a second-generation immigrant, Emeka finds his passion in serving immigrant communities, aiding in their integration into the new home and seeking ways to improve their healthcare outcomes. Emeka is the CEO and founder of Nations Health, a grassroots mobile multidisciplinary healthcare team focused on the provision of healthcare services for the marginalized population. Emeka brings his engineering background to all obstacles with an eye for innovation in design, research, program development, service delivery, and social entrepreneurship. Have I captured everything?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That's very good. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Welcome again, Emeka.
Yeah.
So, the show focuses on first generation and second generation, and you are the second generation interview that I am conducting on the show. So that also gives another layer of being special. You were born and raised in Calgary. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience, what you can remember, being a child of an immigrant parent? And as all of us, and I knew you when you were, So I know all of our struggles as first generation immigrants at that time, and then also having children. But from your view, what were some of the challenges of that time? from your view?
Well, first I wanted to say thank you for having me on the show, Auntie.
Yes, you're very welcome.
I always call her Auntie Moji, so that's there's a very fond connection with you and your family, and I'm very happy to be on the show.
Thank you.
Growing up here in Calgary, you know, actually it was a very amazing experience. Being part of the Nigerian community, being part of the wider Canadian community, and kind of trying to connect those two communities and cultures and traditions was, you know, I describe it today, an amazing experience. At the time, I would tell you it was there were challenges.
Definitely.
There were always a lot of challenges.
Definitely,
right?
definitely.
But today I'm very happy and grateful for that experience. You know, first when you're being raised at home, it's Nigerian culture. Nigerian culture brought with it, you know, that brute honesty, you know, that hard work and dedication, perseverance.
High expectations.
High expectations. Better be good at math. You better be good at math.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you're kind of raised to focus on success, excellence, and push yourself. Never giving up, never kind of looking at obstacles as something you can't succumb, and also being very close to your religion and your faith.
Yes.
And so these were some of those key pillars that I was brought up on, and they definitely are my foundation and my rock.
And how your parents were heavily involved in community building and service.
Yeah.
How did that affect you then, and what do you think of it now?
So yes, my parents spent countless many hours in the community, in the Nigerian community, you know, Nigerian Community Association, through leadership, through volunteering, and through all sorts of activities, hosting family parties. Some of my greatest memories were actually our community parties, our parties together, you know, at each and every single family's home, you know, and all the kids would be there, all the aunties and uncles would be there, and those were some of my fondest memories. That also, with it, took a lot of time, took a lot of effort, and it was consistent, but it was fun. And there was a connection, and people found that community to help them grow within this wider community, go through all the struggles together, go through all the good times together as well, right? And seeing them build that community, seeing them put that effort into their community, channeled in me the energy and the passion and drive I have now to build this community that I have today in 2022, the community of Nigerians, both first generation and second generation immigrants, coming together to become more instilled within the wider Canadian community, and being able to give back to that Canadian community now that we've had a step up off of our parents and off of the work that you guys have done as well, to now be successful in our community and to try to build that connection within our Canadian community. So I think that's something that definitely stems from the work that they did and the work that you guys have done in the community.
And I'm sure wherever they are beaming with pride. Yes, with what you're doing and what you have achieved and what you've become.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure they will be very, very proud. So, you were born in Calgary. You went to school in Calgary, public school for that matter.
Yeah.
What were your experience? Which schools did you attend?
So elementary school was St. Luke's, which is French.
St. Luke's.
That's French Catholic.
That's where one of my grandsons attended.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where all my brothers and sisters went. St. Luke's, Madeleine Douay, and St. Francis.
And St. Francis High School.
High school. Yeah.
Excellent.
All great schools.
You great schools. You rumble, tumble. You found your way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And, it's not perfect and great and dandy, but they're great schools, and great things came from there. And I have fond memories of all of those places, and it was great.
So now, in the intro, I told our viewer that your background, your initial educational background is in engineering.
Yeah.
So how does a person transition from engineering to the medical field?
So practically speaking, it's really simple. You know, the medical stream ultimately just needs prerequisites that you need to complete, and anybody can be from any background, any degree, to really complete those prerequisites. Complete the examination, and if they qualify and if they pass, and then they apply and then interview, and then you can get into medical school. The actual initial undergrad doesn't actually matter. So I personally loved engineering. My dad was an engineer, as you know.
Yes.
He
was an inventor.
Yes, he was an inventor of many things. Yes, and an innovator and a businessman, and yeah, he had a lot of great qualities. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of that, you know, struck a chord with me. I always wanted to know and learn and understand more about engineering and the way they think, and how obstacles weren't always things that you just had to find, you know, kind of like, oh, that's an obstacle and try to find a way around it. It's like, no, that's an obstacle, I'm going to try to go through it, and I'm going to try to solve it. And I really liked that viewpoint.
Yes.
So I did mechanical engineering. It was very tough, but I loved it at the same time. And a lot of the lessons learned from engineering I take to solve issues on the daily basis, and in medicine and so on and so forth. In my daily interactions and human interactions, I really did enjoy engineering.
Well, you see, life as a whole is full of challenges, but those challenges are not there so that you can run away.
Yes, no, they're not.
They're there to pique your curiosity, to be inquisitive, and to find solutions.
Yeah.
I'm not great at math, but I'm good at finding solutions.
I'm sure you're good at math too. You are great at finding solutions. That's true.
Great at finding solutions and connectivity.
Yes.
You know, so yeah.
Those are really good skill sets to have. And, you know, and actually a lot of those skill sets I've learned from our Nigerian community and from my mom.
Oh, your mom was a trooper.
Yes. That's one way to describe it.
Yeah. No, she never take no for an answer. No. Yeah.
No. No, she did not. And she was a very avid and consistent and persistent individual with high moral standing, virtues, and she believed in what she believed in.
And very giving.
And very giving to everybody.
Completely.
Yeah. With an honest heart.
Yes.
So
yes.
I feel like that's also a very big foundation for myself as well. And trying to do the same thing in my new community here in Canada, you know, and within the Nigerian community, but outside the Nigerian community, for anybody who needs it, and everybody who needs it. And trying to find that way, those different ways, innovative ways to find solutions in the community to help people.
Okay. So that takes us into your
Nation's Health.
Your business.
Yeah.
Your business. Vision's Health.
Nation's Health, yeah.
Nation's Health.
Yeah.
It started with vision.
Yes.
But I noticed you gradually added dental.
Other services, yeah.
Other services. Okay. Tell us all about the services that are under Nation's Health. Yeah.
So I think what I could start with is, you know, the vision of Nation's Health stemmed from, actually, as you're trying to describe here, my parents, my upbringing, that experience as a second-generation immigrant, seeing inequality in our system and trying to find innovative ways to solve it. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, what I experienced growing up was I noticed that there's lots of systemic things within, you know, Calgary, in the wider Canadian community, that just don't allow a lot of people to have an equal footing in prospering. And a lot of people take it as something that, or think of it as something that is isolated to those individuals. But truly, it ramifies itself across the entire Canadian population. We're all affected. Whether you're rich or you're middle class or you're poor, it doesn't matter. In our Canadian community, we're all connected, both financially or whatever you want to call it, from a healthcare system.
So whatever deprivation marginalized group gets, ultimately it trickles down and it affects people who are well off.
Yeah, all of us. We're all connected, we're all affected. So for example, the best, easiest way to acknowledge it is in the healthcare industry. Healthcare in Canada is publicly funded. So that means our taxes, all of our tax dollars go towards a healthcare system. So any inefficiencies that are experienced in a healthcare system, we all pay for. And so priority populations, which was a very a more all-encompassing term for marginalized or underserved populations, can also have a larger weight upon our healthcare system, mainly because they themselves experience inequality in our healthcare system, and as a result are unable to access the healthcare system for various reasons, many barriers that they experience. And as a result, they then come into our healthcare system sometimes often late, or it's not just through our healthcare system, but they experience lower quality of life from the very many healthcare afflictions that they are experiencing that are untreated or unmanaged, and then ultimately end up suffering in other elements of their life, whether that's their family life, whether that's their business life, whether that's happiness, whether that's how much they're giving back to the community, or so on and so forth.
So in essence, that's a cumulative loss.
Yes.
For our society
as a whole. But it doesn't just affect them. It affects their children.
Oh yes.
It affects the grandparents. It affects their friends. We're all connected. And as a result of that, and by not addressing that, you're affecting more than just that one individual. And so I think what I really gathered from, what I really enjoyed from the Nigerian community, my parents and the upbringing we had, was seeing the ramifications of their efforts in establishing the community, Nigerian community particularly as well, and seeing where it is today. Look at the Nigerian community today.
30 years? Almost 30 years later, yeah.
And it's completely and entirely different from the one we had 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
And that is that build-up. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes persistent, self-giving, volunteering, and but being passionate about something that you want to see succeed. And a lot of those founding members within the community wanted other people within their community
to be better, to succeed, to achieve higher, and we're continuing, we are not stopping.
No, exactly.
Yes, we're
and
not
so
stopping.
Seeing that is just a perfect example of, you can put that effort in, put it in a smart way, in an innovative way, and you consistently work at it, and it will have an effect. It just takes time sometimes, and so that's kind of why I moved on to things like Nations Health. So I mean, at the end of the day, Nations Health is, for better terms, it's a multidisciplinary healthcare platform. And what we're doing is we're trying to create an environment for healthcare practitioners of all sorts to find ways to innovatively improve access to care for others who are unable to access it, as well as the general Canadian populace, so to speak. So the first installation of it was back in 2019 in residency. I started Nations Vision, which was a portable optometry clinic, and we would go everywhere. We would go to low-income schools within the Calgary Catholic School District, the Calgary Board of Education, the Francophone School District. We would go to the Drop-In Center. We would go to immigration agencies of all sorts, whether that's Calgary Catholic Immigrant Society, Calgary Immigrant Women's Association, Center for Newcomers, Immigrant Services Calgary. All of these are major partners of ours, and we're fond of our partners because they've done such a great job formating this healthcare impetus upon their clientele, and it's important, and that's what the school districts are doing, and that's what the immigration agencies are doing, and they're helping us in promoting the importance of health, overall health. And so what we do is we get into those schools, we get into those agencies, and we basically break down all the barriers people are experiencing to access services. So optometry is one. You have glasses, I have contacts. A lot of people have some kind of visual aids, right? But many people find it difficult to access eye care services. They can't afford it, or they don't know about it, or they can't get transportation to it. They can't take time, for example, a single mother with 3 kids might have 3 kids, she can't find time to go to the optometry office. Is she going to bring all 3 kids? Like, how is she going to go about doing this? She might be working 2 jobs, or, you know, it could be 2 parents in the home and they have 2 jobs or 3 jobs and they're just trying to make ends meet. And at the end of the day, we can't expect them to place the same importance on eye care as healthcare professional, i.e. Optometrist or ophthalmologist or whatever, places on eye care, because, well, they don't have that background. That's not their expertise. That's not what they see to be important. And so because of that, they experience all these barriers that are not their own fault at all, but that they suffer from. Their children might suffer from. So for me, for example, I was in grade 5 and I could barely see the board. And as a result, I was performing poorly in class and I had to sit to the front of class and no one really knew what was going on with me. And I don't blame that on my parents at all. How were they to know? I wasn't complaining, right? But the reality is, if we were to break down that barrier of just not knowing when to access it, and you, for example, brought the service directly to them, all of a sudden, just like we're seeing with Nation's Vision, for example, we see all these children who've never seen an optometrist before. Never seen an optometrist before. And this is in Calgary, and I'm talking thousands of children, not a couple hundred. And the more and more you see, the more and more you know that the service is making a difference. And it's not because people don't want to know and want to provide eye care services, but they don't
know how to access the information,
or they don't
even know that the kids need it.
And a lot of people make that assumption that they should, and they shouldn't. It doesn't make sense to assume people know. So just recently we expanded into dental services, and that's Nation's Dental. That's portable dental hygiene services at this current time.
So you with the mobile dental services, we go to them. Okay.
That's breaking down a barrier. Right? So the standard healthcare platform right now is to provide a service in the comfort of your office and assume people know to come to you.
Yes.
You tell them, this is my service, come to me. That makes the primary assumption that they know to come to you, when to come to you, how to come to you, and can afford to come to you. Place the value on coming to you. All of these assumptions have been proven false innumerable amounts of times in healthcare, and it affects medicine, it affects health, vision, it affects dental, it affects physiotherapy and chiropractic therapy, psychology. Everybody's assuming these people have and place the same importance on your healthcare service as you as a healthcare professional assume they do, and that's just a false assumption. And I think at the end of the day, with that, for example, with dental services are extremely expensive. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of trauma in the community associated with dental providers and dental services. It's just a known thing within dentistry. And so our team specializes in breaking down those barriers, providing that time, providing that education, providing that low-cost service to people who are in need wherever they are in need. So right now it's the same thing. We're providing services to Afghan refugees. We've seen over 700 of them in the hotels.
In the hotels.
At the locations where they come.
I was going to ask, how do you find out where to go? You
through all the partners,
through all the partners.
Through all the partnerships. So CCIS opened up their doors. They said, please come in, and we provide the service, just like Nation's Vision was doing it. And so it's the same model. We just go in there, they provide us access to their clients, and we do the education, we provide them the cleaning, we provide them the x-rays, we do all the stuff we can, and we break down those barriers. And of course, at the same time, now we're offering services in schools.
Yes.
And you can see the extent of pathology and disease within children. Lots of parents don't have the time, don't know the importance, don't know how to or when to or why they should necessarily prioritize oral health care for their children. And the assumption that they should know is false. And it's proven false all the time. And so breaking that barrier down by bringing the service to them, dropping the cost for them, explaining to them, spending the time and explaining to them the importance of that oral hygiene, the importance of proper eye care services, is that mission and vision and service. And that's what Nation's Health is as a whole. It's bringing equality back into healthcare services. services.
So how do with our viewers that are within Canada
Yeah.
or Alberta and Calgary for that matter,
Yeah.
how can they connect with your services?
Okay, so if right now our services are limited to Calgary, but this is a scalable platform. And so we do intend to expand out to other cities, Edmonton, Vancouver, Regina, Saskatoon, Montreal, Toronto, so on and so forth. The idea and the concept doesn't require us to be able to have large scale investments and so on and so forth. The idea and the concept is a platform that helps healthcare providers get access to those.
Okay.
And that's through the building of the partnerships. So that's through the design and innovation in the service delivery, whether it's portable, mobile, or standalone. That's in the business modeling for creation of a social entrepreneurial healthcare team. And so through that social entrepreneurial healthcare team, what you're really doing is you're just taking certain profits, a lot of the profits, and cycling it back to make things cheaper for other people. So some people, for example, might have insurance. Some people, for example, may have the cash necessary or the means by which they can pay for a service. Others, all they need is just for the service to be dropped in cost. It doesn't necessarily have to be rendered free. And they don't necessarily want it to be free.
Well, yes.
Right? They don't necessarily want you to hand them secondhand glasses.
Yeah.
They want to have that equal service, that equal opportunity. It's not that they want secondhand glasses all the time. That's what a lot of people often bank to is, oh, you can just donate glasses and that'll be fine. These are glasses that someone else wore before, or these are glasses that nobody else wants, and I'll give it to them. Well, people don't necessarily want that service, right? They want to have an equal service, an equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And so
something they can afford a little bit. Yes.
And people find pride in doing that. And so having that access is true. And then, of course, there's a segment of the population who just can't afford it. And we are able to drop the costs to the point that there's no cost.
Yes.
For some of those clients.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what people need to understand is we don't need the rich per se to support the poor. Even those who are government sponsored, who have government insurance, we don't necessarily need them to pay any other additional funds. All we're saying is even that can help cycle back the funds necessary to be able to provide a service for those clients. And so it's just all forms of social entrepreneurial funding models that allow us to make this sustainable. And that was what was most important to me, was finding a way to create a healthcare platform that's sustainable, that isn't dependent 100% on donations, on government funding, but can run itself and build upon itself.
Excellent, excellent. But you're still working full time.
I am still working full time.
Yes, yes.
Partially funding everything.
Partially funding everything. You're still working full time, partially funding everything. But that's part of giving. That's what people who give genuinely. That's what we do. Same with this show that we're doing here. You know, most of it is free time and free content. And you know, and we have a few supporters in the community that believes in what we're doing and supporting here and there. But we want to educate people. We want to bring information to people. We want to alleviate stress from people by bringing information to them. So this is wonderful. We can keep talking forever, but we try not to make the show too lengthy. So what word of advice, word of wisdom would you like to share with immigrant parents? That's part A. And then immigrant kids that are struggling with two cultures, two religions, different languages.
It's tough.
Yes, but we can make it. We'll do. You know, it's actually a beauty. It's beautiful at the end. But so.
But you'll see the dark side sometimes, and you have to see the light side sometimes too. Well, you've done it very well, so you know yourself. But I think for immigrant parents, I think the first thing that I would say is, good job. You've come here. You put yourself out into a very tough position.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna work hard. You're the bedrock of this Canadian country that we have. That's a beautiful country. And you should have self-pride in your traditions, in your cultures, in your religion, in your values and your morals. That is the foundation of Canada. It is immigrants.
Yes.
And so you shouldn't lose it. You should strengthen it and formate that, and then of course learn the new Canadian culture.
Yes.
And get yourself engaged and involved in your new community. You don't necessarily need to isolate yourself within your own community, because at that point you may as well just stay at home.
That's it.
My personal view, you should try to get yourself out into the community.
Yes.
And meet your neighbors, open your doors, and that's what I love about Canada. You open up someone's door, and I'm speaking to a Filipino. I'm speaking to someone from Thailand. I'm speaking to someone from Australia. I'm speaking to someone from Norway. And they may all have their their own traditions and their own values and their own accents. But we can all call ourselves Canadian, and I love it. And I love that about the unique Canadian experience. So that's what I would say is foster that. Bring them into your home. Let them experience your traditions. Don't lose your traditions.
Don't lose your tradition, but in opening your doors and opening yourself up, you're also learning their others' traditions. Yeah.
And accept them. Yes. Yeah.
What advice will you give to children of immigrant parents juggling two cultures?
So my toughest experience was, I would say my toughest experience was having myself have a certain form of self-pity. And not being able to recognize that there's a blessing in the opportunity that I have as a second-generation immigrant to be able to expose myself to both of these cultures and create and formate a new one, and to pioneer in that way.
Was it difficult for you trying to be accepted in the main Canadian
100%.
culture,
100%.
and then you come home, it's different?
And it's different. It was very different. It was very difficult.
And especially in those days,
30
we don't
years
have
ago,
too many black people in Calgary.
You're the token black guy or the token black girl. That's what people would always call you. I'd be the only black child in the school.
Class, in the school.
And people would look at me and tell me, your skin looks like poo, or they'd say something about monkeys, and they would say all these jokes and racist jokes that people would call it today. And it did build some self-hate, self-pity as well. It's like, why am I like this? Why am I different? And over time I learned not to despise people for that, not to blame them for that. I learned to accept that at the end of the day, that was their own form of ignorance. They did not know who I was. I was different. There was nobody else in my class and who was like me. And they'd never experienced someone like me before. And so I understand where that racial prejudice and stereotyping and sometimes forms of racism came from. I understand that because it came from a lot of ignorance, a lot from their homes and from upbringing and lack of exposure. They're not bad people. And so what I would say to an immigrant, second generation immigrant, is don't look negatively upon your community, so those around you who don't understand you, who don't understand your upbringing. Find solace in the fact that you are different.
You're unique.
You're unique, and be proud of that. And don't wash it down. Find joy in knowing that you're different, and you can accent that at the same time as learning about your new community and what is different about them.
Yes.
What's life like for them? And ingrain yourself in that. And so I always do try to remind people, I was raised Nigerian.
Yes.
And I tell that to all the people who don't understand me. I am uniquely Nigerian, in the core of myself, but at the same time, I am Canadian.
Canadian. Mhm.
And so my Nigerian traits come out in all forms of things that I do. My communication styles, my preferences, my honesty, my my laughter, my
Your candidness.
yeah, my candidness. Yeah. Sure.
We don't hold anything back.
Don't hold anything back, right? And that's a uniquely Nigerian trait.
Mhm.
It's not the same thing that other people would experience.
Mm.
But I'm proud of that.
Mm.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. Nigeria, and I don't want to lose that. I will never lose it. It's part of me. And I think people shouldn't find that they need to lose themselves to be part
of the main
Canadian culture.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, there we have it. Thank you, Emeka.
Thank you so much.
I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you and everything that you're doing and that you've achieved. And that's what this show is all about, to highlight our achievements and our successes. So on that note, we want to thank you very much for watching, and we ask that you like, you share, you subscribe, and you become a member. We always look for more sponsors. So if you like what we're doing, please come along and join us and support us. Until next time, we say goodbye.